Hi, thanks for tuning in to Astro Awani, and you are watching in Realty with me, Linawati Adnan. Well, we have to say goodbye to Syed Farino Omar because in pursuit of happiness, he has decided to venture into a different department. And to start off this new season of the 4th year, we can also talk about in pursuit of our happiness, in searching for that particular fine line between whether it's our responsibility or not in terms of property management. We are going to talk to Surveyor Azman Shah bin Omar Arifin. He is the Vice President of RISM, which is Royal Institutions of Surveyors Malaysia. So let's start with talking about property management, Surveyor Azman. Okay, we know that like I myself, I own an apartment. So I know that I am paying for whatever that's got to do with my common areas, my balcony, my walkway, the environment outside of my vicinity. But then again, I'm not quite sure to what extent do I have the rights of property management. So shall we start with what actually is property management in this sense?
Okay, thank you, Lina. If you look at the current scenario in our current living environment, there is this segment where you actually live in strata property, like yourself, in condo, apartment, or even work in our own office, which is stratified within a commercial building. Now, there are certain parts which belong to us. That means our own building or premises or property which we bought from the developer. But there is also the areas where actually being used by 2 or more persons, as you mentioned just now, the corridors, the common facilities, and also certain areas like the fire escape staircase and the park area surrounding the building. Now, this is a very, very important area for us to take care because it is actually something which is owned by everybody. Now, when we look at common property is actually jointly owned by everybody who occupies the building. And when it comes to that, it means everybody is responsible for it. Okay? So when you look at the level of responsibility, you would have to see what exactly that each owner, parcel owner as we put it, if it's a strata property, would be responsible for. Now, the government introduced an act back in 2007, which is called the Building and Common Property Act 2007, Act 663. What has transpired is that this act actually provides the approaches to property management, and also it spells out clearly what are the responsibilities of the owners. And also it gives the opportunity for the owners to take over from the developers. See, prior to 2007, most of the developments were being managed by developers, and a lot of the developers decided to hold on to the properties to manage them instead of transferring the management to the owners. So the government has done a good job, in fact, in actually getting the responsibility of managing the common property over to the owners. Back in 2007 by the introduction of this Act 663. Unfortunately, this Act 663 had a lot of flaws. Okay. So what the government decided to do was recently in February, actually enacted but not yet enforced the Strata Management Act 2013, Act 757. So the owners now will have to look at this new act when it is enforced to see what are their responsibilities in terms of managing the common property.
Yeah. And I think that's when the biggest challenge comes in, managing a property, especially for a person who probably has not managed anything like me, besides work. So how does that affect the owners?
Okay, this new act, Strata Management Act 2013, has all the best intentions, to actually regularize the act or practice of property management and making it a lot more structured and clearer for the parcel owners, be it joint management body or management corporation. Now, as you know, before the titles are issued, the joint management body will be formed, and it is actually run or actually led by the joint management committee. And when the titles are issued, it is actually transferred over to the management corporation. Okay. So the developer has a big role here, transferring firstly to JMB and after that to MC, the Act actually provides all the necessary provisions of the duties of the Joint Management Committee, who are actually normally elected. Okay, and most of the developments would have their JMC running the show, and then thereafter, when they have their titles, they'll have their MC who continues the responsibility. And basically, it is an act which actually governs our lives in high-rise living. So it is important for the public to understand the contents of this act in order to ensure that it actually helps them to better their management of their own properties as well as the common properties.
Yeah, but that's where it's lacking in that sense, because as a property owner, I wouldn't know what to do or where to go for sourcing for this kind of act and what it contains, and how do we heighten the public awareness.
I must say that at this point in time, there's still very little public awareness exercise being done in order to make the public aware of this new act. I think a lot more work will have to be done, not only by the government, but also by the NGOs who are actually involved in this area. And I applaud the efforts of the House Buyers Association, for instance, who actually has gone all out to reach out, doing outreach programs to reach out to all the house buyers, especially those who own strata properties, in order to give them the right knowledge. And for us, the Royal Institute of Surveyors Malaysia, we are also doing our part. What is important is actually the commitment of the government towards giving a better, I would say, living environment for the future by introducing this act. The only concern we have at this moment is that this act is very comprehensive, and it is actually very, very strict, very strict than the previous act, and it gives a lot more approaches on how to actually resolve certain problems, but also it is actually also having a lot more penalties, okay, especially for the those who have been entrusted in managing. Not only the JMC and the MC members are actually subject to this penalty. The property managers themselves as well will have to actually comply with the act to ensure that they do not actually flout the act and end up with hefty penalties. This act is very important for all of us. In fact, I think most of us have got a strata property that we own, and sometimes also we occupy. The only way that we can live in perfect harmony, not really perfect harmony, but in harmony, almost perfect harmony, and also learning how to live in a community is actually how we understand our responsibilities well enough to manage it the way that we feel that everybody would want to manage their own property. So
in a nutshell, homeowners for stratified, ownership especially, we are very well protected.
Actually, the new act has provided a few other new provisions which will help to actually improve the management of strata properties. For instance, the Commissioner of Building under the local authorities will be given more powers to enforce, to take action against those who do not pay their maintenance charges, for instance. They will also be actually forming the Tribunal of Strata Management, which is a very important authority which was lacking before. You see, there are a lot of issues that a lot of people from strata property developments wanted to question and actually find solutions. But unfortunately, there was not enough authority given to the Commissioner of Buildings to do certain things to help out. But now with the tribunal going to be in place, there will be a clearer place where you can actually go and lodge your complaint or look for solutions. Now, there is also the fact that there are registered property managers who are actually doing the work for a lot more strata property developments in terms of condos, apartments, even low-cost flats, as well as stratified office and shop houses. And these people are actually professional people who are covered by professional indemnity insurance, same as a doctor or a lawyer or an architect or an engineer. And if they do not follow, just called the Malaysian Property Management Standards, they can be taken to task. Their license can also be suspended and action taken against them legally. So, by having this opportunity to appoint registered property managers, I think the JMCs, the JMBs and MCs would be even more confident that their rights are being protected. We are aware that there are also other parties who are not registered with the board undertaking this kind of practices. They are not governed by the Act, they are not governed even by the fee scale. Public, if they choose to appoint those people, it will be at their own risk.
Okay.
But we strongly recommend that they should refer the property management to the professionals.
Yeah, so there are more that goes beyond than disputes between paying bill or not. So that's when RISM, the Royal Institution of Surveyors Malaysia, comes in and provide good guidance and also probably help to house owners and also property managers. So we want to go more into RISM, but we're going to take a quick break. Thank you so much,
Thank you, Lina, for this
your time.
opportunity.
I'm sure that we're going to meet again pretty soon.
Thank you.
So with that, we take a quick break. We'll come back right after this on In Realty. Hi, thanks for tuning in. We're back on In Realty. I'm right now in Svago. I've just, feasted my senses and my appetite on big lunch. And right now, I want to talk about the attractions and also the impressive decoration that you can find here in Svago in KLCC. With me today is Craig J. Selby. He's a representative for Svago. Thank you so much, Craig, for making the time.
Thank you, Lena.
So let's start by talking about what is Svago all about.
Okay, Svago is a unique concept. It's continental cuisine with an Italian twist. And it's about having something that is towards fine dining without being labeled a fine dining restaurant. We want our customers to come in, to enjoy the atmosphere, to feel at home, to be able to have a nice friendly conversation like we did over lunch, or for business people to be able to come in and have a serious business meeting but enjoy good food at the same time.
And when you talk about that cozy ambiance, it can get something of not so apt when it comes to fine dining theme, the whole fine dining theme, but you did a good job with the color scheme and all. Talk to us about the concept in terms of decoration concept for Svago.
Sure. We wanted to be something a little bit different from everybody else, but without being too pretentious.
Okay.
So what we did is we created different zones within the restaurant. One where you've got the dining area so that you can have your typical dining experience, but it's got some plush colors, it's got some interesting textures, designs, just to give a feel of difference. We then have the lounge area where we are now, where you can sit down, perhaps have a cigarette, glass of wine, or just a chit chat with friends. The private dining room that's behind us, and also the bar and the music area. The whole idea was to create different spaces or different atmospheres within the restaurant, but there's some themes that run between them all. So you'll notice with the ceiling, for example, that goes all the way through the private room, the lounge, the bar area. And then that transcends into the dining area where what you see on the ceiling actually becomes part of the wall decoration and the color scheme becomes part of other elements. The whole idea here was to take some of the traditional European design elements but shake them up a little bit. For example, what we might normally have, the black and white tiles behind us, what we might normally have on a floor, we've got it on the wall. We've got wallpaper on the ceiling, for example. The parquet designs have gone onto the wall in the main dining room.
Exactly.
So it's just about taking the familiar but treating them in an unfamiliar way.
While I think many other, food or retail outlets here in KLCC don't have the privilege of having this water fountain outside.
True.
And you have a perfect spot. I mean, it's right at the corner facing the water fountain and you have the natural lights. Would you say that posed some sort of a challenge in terms of setting up this kind of living, cozy area when you have the brightness outside?
I think it did pose a challenge, but we were lucky. We had an amazing designer, Chris Lewis, who was able to help us bring the outside in And especially at night time when we draw back the curtains, we have, in fact, we've got 32 metres of balcony out the front. By the time you get the curtains drawn back and you open up the doors, people use both the indoor and outdoor spaces for socialising. And we find that that's actually really helped us to make it work. In terms of the areas down here, what we've also done is we've brought in a lot of lighting that creates reflectiveness. So in the daytime, we see the reflections of the outside in the lighting, in the mirrors, in the ceilings that we use with the copper ceilings. At nighttime, we get the lights from the fountain, the cityscape and everything. And that sort of helps us to bridge the gap between indoor and outdoor.
So talk to us about the people who comes here. How can you describe the regular customers of Svago? Who are they?
I guess I'm one of them. The people who like good food and people who want a good quality service, nice food, great value to the table, but without having to be the type of people who, you know, I always look at the analogy, you know, having to know whether you work inside out for your forks and things like that. It's a fun place to eat without it being too pretentious.
Yeah, because I feel that kind of moments here. Because if I were to pass by, I would have thought that this would be a fine dining restaurant, but you're not, and you're not even
We're not
down
trying
there.
to be.
Yeah, you're not trying to be, and you're not fine dining. Is there a term for Svago? If you could derive it from that.
We want to call ourselves refined dining. It's about taking good quality, bringing it to the next level, but without being over the top. So accessible to everybody and enjoyable for everybody.
And the secret behind all the success would be Out to Dine.
Yes.
So who are they? And talk to us a little about
Out to Dine is a parent company that's owned by primarily two people, a local and an expat. The expat has been in the hotel industry for a number of years and has a huge passion in food and beverages. They own 5 other restaurants as well, with 1 or 2 coming up shortly that maybe we'll talk about later.
Okay.
So we have German restaurants and Italian restaurants, plus Svago, plus the restaurant downstairs, which is Limoncello.
Okay.
Okay. The whole concept with Out to Dine is about not being a cookie cutter restaurant chain. They create new restaurants that each time the theme is different. There's something unique about the restaurant. Rather than treating it as a chain, you treat it as something unique, a different experience for food, for cuisine, for customers each time.
So we can expect a lot of other, not so fine dining, not so, their kind of place in the future.
What you can expect is great value at the table and something that you're not necessarily going to get elsewhere. Certainly, as they keep saying to me, we don't want to be cookie cutter, and they're not.
Okay, so if you can describe Svago in one word, what would it be?
Elegant.
All right.
I think the decor, the food, the whole feel about it just brings me to that word.
Okay, so there you go. If you would like to experience an elegant, not over the top and not pretentious dining experience, then Svago in KLCC is a place to be. So with that, I see you again on the next segment. Alright, thanks for tuning in. Welcome back to In Realty on Astro Awani, as promised. YM Tunku Surveyor Dr. Fauzi Tunku Dr. Malik is here. He's the CEO of RISM, that is the Royal Institution of Surveyors Malaysia, to talk about this wonderful organisation that's been here for 52 years.
Correct,
right? Tunku, sad to say that most of us are not really aware of your role and your mission and why are you here for. So talk to us about all that.
As you rightly said, we are already in existence for 52 years. So last 2 years ago, we were given the royal status by His Royal Highness the Sultan of Selangor.
Okay. Congratulations.
Not many people know that. Yeah, we are the national professional body incorporating 4 surveying disciplines, mainly the building surveyors, the geometric land surveyors, the property managers, valuers and estate agency surveying profession, and also the quantity surveyors. So we have about 7,000 members currently, and from all walks of life, the public sector, the private sector, the institution of higher learning, and the corporate bodies.
With 4 major roles, big roles that you have under your wing, so talk to us about your core mission in RISM.
Okay, our mission is to keep improving standards of surveying in Malaysia, especially then we have to like export our expertise throughout the world, like the Prime Minister rightly said, go local. Think global, but you locally, you establish yourself and you go out in the world and make a name for yourself. And then we also want to promote the welfare of and professional development of Malaysia. Now we've also got associate members outside Malaysia, so we have to think of them as well. Then we have we provide quality value-added services. We want to be a one-stop center for the surveying profession. So somebody comes over here and asks, where do I get maps, topography map, and we can point them the right direction. Whatever that we have here, like we have a library, as you can see behind you, all the books on surveying profession.
So this is open to public, or?
It's open to students and members.
Okay.
So you want to become a student member or professional member, you're welcome to come and have a look at the book, all the laws that incorporates. Like my colleague Surveyor Azman rightly said about property management, that if you don't know much about it, you can come here and learn the latest laws and all that. And then we want to be relevant and be a benefit to the public, like our resource center for the public. So we want to, but this is, I think we have to call it a rebranding exercise for the Royal Institute of Surveyors Malaysia. So it's not good enough for us to talk among ourselves about the surveying profession. We have to tell the world, especially Malaysia, that there's an avenue for the public to come and have a chat with us, have a cup of coffee with us, or even just come in and talk to us of their own issues, their dilemmas, or anything. They want to praise us also, okay, on our good job. And then we want to work with the government, especially under the wings of the Balai Ikhtisas Malaysia, which is a combination of all the professional bodies. We have now a dialogue session with the Prime Minister's Department every year at least. So we can tell them from the ground what it's all about, any issues. So it's the government is well informed, and how we can help overcome issues.
So what's your current focus for RISM?
I've been brought into, like I said, rebrand the Surveyors Malaysia. We want to make it more people-friendly and make it easy for people to come up and see us. Or even we are in the midst of doing a hotline for people who have issues with property, boundary issues, strata management issues, valuation, estate agency issues, on construction issues, for example. The quantity surveyors are the accountant of the building industry, so you can tell you how much cement or brick and mortar needed for a 20-story building. So at least the developers also can use it. They won't get cheated, especially the new developers. So these are the things that they can come to us as a resource center. So that's our main objective, to go out there and tell we exist, the SR exists. In fact, the Royal Institute of Surveyors Malaysia, we have coined a term that we are the home to the SR. Not many people know SR. People know DR, doctor. People know IR, engineer. Architect, AR. For surveyors, it's SR.
Yeah, okay. It's not senior or sister.
No. We can do that as well, but maybe that's the later phase. Later phase.
So now we know where to go. To RISM if we have any woes concerning our property and also property management. So, but we want to know what are among the things that you can share with us when it comes to surveying. What kind of standards are we at right now, and how has this little but big division of property has evolved throughout the years?
We have brought up issues like to lessen, to get a discount for this taxation purposes, so we can expand further, and also even get a loan or soft loan from the government for us to compete globally. Because as you know, latest equipment in surveying, for example, the theodolite and all that, it costs quite a bit. So for middle income, for medium size industries, small industries, for small firms, they can't afford to come up with the cash. But we got the expertise. We got good brains here in Malaysia. In fact, some of us have been outside there in Dubai, for example, in Doha, in US, in UK. They've been out around the world. So, like the doctors, we're trying to bring them back to Malaysia to help service. But again, it's not fully there yet. So we are working towards that, and that's why we are here to make sure the level of professionalism and the compensation for them to come back to serve as professional surveyors are good enough or in tandem with the rest of the world.
You have one thing that is really highly anticipated right now, which is the hotline,
Yes.
which you will be announcing the number soon
Yes.
once it's launched. And for you, if you want to know more about the Royal Institutions of Surveyors Malaysia, or if you want to be a member, you may visit the website www.rism.org.my for further information. So with that, I'll see you again next week on In Realty. Thank you for staying with us.